Ben Shapiro, he delivered a speech at the Young Americans for Freedom. They're for freedom. Ben Shapiro's for freedom, and therefore he spoke at the Young Americans for Freedom conference because Ben Shapiro's for freedom in November of 2015, and the topic of his speech was college students who demand that speech be limited or speech be punished if it makes them uncomfortable. And the title of his talk was, because Ben Shapiro's like a tough guy, he's like really been through it all, and he's like never complained or whined or anything. It's, quote, toughen up, spoiled children. So Ben Shapiro was calling college students spoiled children who wanted speech codes, who were whining about feeling unsafe on college campuses. But now if you call Israel supporters that, spoiled children, it means that you'll be fired for, quote, anti-Semitic tropes. So you're allowed to say this. These children are spoiled, they're privileged, they're wealthy, they should stop whining about any group we want. Except one, the one that Ben Shapiro happens to identify most with. Here's the incredibly tough and pro-liberty and pro-freedom speech he gave about college students in 2015.
In doing his or her bad thing. And all colleges do now is give people reasons to feel like they are justified in doing the bad things that they want to do. Because once you've been microaggressed, once you're part of the self-designated victim group, driven to extremes by the evils of white privilege, you can now ban white students from black safe spaces, right? You can ban them, which, by the way, is a policy the KKK loves because the space is both separate and equal, right? You can call the cops. You can have the police investigate hateful remarks, as the notice went out from MU.
So if you're a member of a self-identified victim group, you can even get the FBI or the police to investigate hateful speech. This is all that people have been calling for after October 7th. Call the police on pro-Palestinian protesters, have the FBI investigate them, put them in prison, because they're offending, in the words of Ben Shapiro, a self-identified victim group. Of course, everything changes once the victim group is Ben Shapiro's own.
A week ago, it was heavily covered. I tweeted out that everybody should immediately call the cops and inform them that Professor Melissa Click was engaged in microaggressions against people and actual aggressions against people. You can ban reporters from public spaces by calling for muscle. By the way, why Melissa Click is still employed at this university is absolutely beyond me. There's no way in hell anybody should be banned from that. Once you're microaggressed, you can deliberately assault reporters, as we saw happen to at least a couple of reporters. And again, I have to tell you, the strategy that these protesters are using, this constant you hit yourself strategy.
I find it very interesting that commentary about Ben Shapiro and the video that I just showed you is about 30 to 35 minutes in. So it's almost like a really slick version of what I call the honorable mention, where there's something that a propagandist doesn't want to really cover, but they want to basically conceal this. So they technically cover it, but not really. And the most popular way to do that is you put it at the end of a video. So if Trump does something really, really crazy, Tim Pool will do an hour live stream, and somewhere towards the end, he'll say, well, Trump actually lied about this, and, I don't know, he might be guilty, right? Most of his audience has already clicked away from the video at that point. So it's almost the equivalent of him not saying this at all. But to an apologist who's a hardcore fan, they're the ones watching the full video, so they'll see it. So if you go and say, how come he never said anything about Trump? They'll say, that's not true. Tim Pool did a video and he said that Trump lied. You know what I mean? So here it is, Glenn Greenwald is absolutely a biased propagandist. And if you were to focus on his reluctance to call out the right wing and call out conservatives and his preoccupation with basically doing anti-liberal content, an apologist would say, no, that's not true. He called out Ben Shapiro. He went in. He went in on him. He called him a fraud. He's not afraid to talk about the right wing. So the video title doesn't mention Ben Shapiro's name, I don't think. And he just has Ben Shapiro in the thumbnail, which makes it a higher level apologist, a higher level honorable mention, because usually you don't want to go anywhere near calling out the site that you are friendly to, right? So you don't want you want their name in the title, you don't want the thumbnail. So you actually put he put his face in the thumbnail. So that's a little aggressive. It's kind of like, and I think the title says something about fraud. A fraud title with Ben Shapiro's face in the thumbnail, that's a little aggressive. Tim Pool would never do that. He would never have a video with fraud and then put Donald Trump's face in the thumbnail. He would have a video where at the end he calls out Donald Trump and maybe he says he's a fraud. He probably wouldn't be that aggressive. But in the thumbnail he has like Joe Biden. It's like in the video that you call out Trump, And the subject matter could be regarding something that Trump did that's bad. So the title could be, when you look at the title, it's relevant directly to something that Trump did. But then the entire video is talking about the liberals and the left is too far, and the left this and the left that, and Joe Biden with the thumbnail. And then at the very end of the video, which no one's watching, it's like, you know what? Trump might be guilty. You know what I'm saying? So I just think it's interesting the way, the combination he does. The Ben Shapiro thumbnail, not in the title, and then mentioning him at the end of the video where all the propagandists, this is what they do, right? CNN even does the same thing, right? There's stories that many people will argue and say, CNN didn't cover this because it made the left look bad or the Democrats look bad. And it's like, trust me, if you ever think that, go to CNN.com, it's probably there. You know what I mean? Because nobody's watching CNN.com, right? They're not going to post it on their YouTube channel. Also, it'll probably be something live. So if you're watching CNN live and you just so happen to be watching when this was brought up, then you might see it. But otherwise, they're not promoting it. It's not going posted as a separate video on their YouTube channel. They just bury it. But technically, they did cover it, though, right? And that's what Glenn Greenwald is doing here. So very interesting to watch Glenn Greenwald, a fraud propagandist, calling out Ben Shapiro, a fraud propagandist. Gotta love it. This is the Debate Me channel. Debate me in the comment section below. Click on the like button, subscribe, smash that bell. Be well. And please, to the simpletons who are going to reply in the comments, say, what did Ben Greenwald say that was wrong? Listen, all the top propagandists know that the most effective propaganda consists of a lot of truth, right? The trick is to see the line between the truth and the deception. And the deception really comes from omission. It's not what they say, it's what they don't say. That's the trick. You got to know how the game is played, right? If you're not even aware of how the game is played, you're at a disadvantage. What's the expression? If you don't know who the sucker in the room is, then it's you. I don't think that's exact words, but I think you get the point.